Welcome back, Celestial Council. I hope you guys are doing fabulous. And yes, we have a little surprise, bitch. I kept a secret because I don't think I even promoted this like that because I'm on that wave of like just going with the flow.
Mhm.
So yes, we have the soul shifter in the building. If a lot of you remember her, you'll remember her from the podcast when I started the Three of Swords podcast, right? That's what it was called
Yes.
at the time. Yeah, and you were one of the hosts.
Yeah.
So
Now we're back together.
now, right, here we are again. Spirit is like, hey, spin the block and see if Nikki wants to do a collaborative reading. And I'm like, yes. So if you'd like, you can introduce yourself to the Celestial Council as I check the video and see what's going on here.
Thank you so much for having me. First of all, I'm always excited to connect with you and your community. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the soul shifter. And I do a lot of like quantum healing work, spiritual coaching and mentorship. And I create a lot of like powerful tools and resources to help the collective like shift and transmute energy and alchemize and just basically like journey back home. And then I also have a monthly community, the Soul Shifter Revolution community, where I teach and do energy work and all the things in there as well. So you can definitely connect and find me there. But just excited to be here.
Yes, darling. Well, as y'all know, she is also a reader. Well,
Yeah.
some of you probably didn't know she reads. So yes, she does read. Who is that? Hello. Hey. How are ooh, now my hair almost burning. Um Come in here, collective, and get comfortable because it's about to be a reading. But some of you probably already knew that she was a reader, probably from her like her former introductions in the podcast. But if you didn't know, she is a reader. She
Yeah.
does read. She is also intuitive. It's not just the tarot, it's also the channeling, right? It's
Yeah.
also like I do. You know, I get on here and I have channeled messages, and this is also a channeled message. So it's definitely Hierophant Joey and the Soul Shifter on why the fuck is it that as humans is and as like human beings we break up with our own identity and our self-love to adapt to relationships, let's see, familial connections, whether they're platonic, romantic, sexual, it doesn't matter. It kind of feels like we always put these aspects of ourselves to the back burner to be able to like contort ourselves to fit in these connections and relationships. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm pretty sure she has her own downloads as well.
Mhm.
And, ladies first. So I'll let you take the floor, darling.
So I wanted to first basically start off by saying that, we are probably going to trigger the collective,
Oh,
but you are not alone. So don't feel like personally attacked. This is something that, all of the collective is kind of going through and experiencing, whether you identify more with masculine energy or feminine energy, or you feel pretty balanced in both. Um, you will know what we are talking about. So I just kind of wanted to set that as like the premise that, we are in a time where we're going through like the biggest collective shift. And so we are all learning these lessons and going through these things in order to elevate and kind of journey back home, not only within self, but also within divine connections and divine union.
mhm.
And I think where a lot of what we're seeing is a lot of imprinting and things that were kind of put into us basically as we were growing up or just different things, and now we're kind of seeing those things play out, whether it was the music that we were listening to, or a lot of people have just become very like disconnected with themselves. And I think that that's why we see a lot of people abandoning themselves through relationships, because, relationships really work as mirrors to help us see things that we need to see. And a lot of times we need that mirror in order to gain awareness. And so, um, I think that we all need to remember that, our soul is here on Earth School to learn and to um, expand and grow. And so relationships and the things on the external are always going to mirror to us back what we need to see in order to gain awareness, so we have that opportunity to dive in deeper and to look at, okay, like, why do I keep attracting the same type of partner, or what is it, about me that is like settling for less than what I deserve, you know what I mean? So
Most definitely. And it's also like, what is it about my perspectives in my spirituality?
mm,
My relationships with my parents? What
mm,
is it about the relationships that I have with my friends, with unhealthy habits, patterns, and cycles, and things that sometimes you don't even realize are leaking into the decisions that you're making to sacrifice yourself while you're connecting to someone, or to, a friendship or a romantic or sexual relationship, whatever it might be. I just kind of feel like we have to be able to open our eyes to the fact that if we cannot love ourselves, support ourselves, listen to ourselves, comprehend ourselves on all levels, on all aspects, on all plateaus, like, you're not going to be able to find somebody who's going to be able to do that for you.
yes. And I think that
Because
that's what people are looking for, right? Like that quick fix, that instant gratification. And I think that a lot of people were never really taught, a lot of us, I don't think we're really taught that self-love, that what it looks like to have a healthy boundary. Like, I know for, a big piece of the collective, it was like being the good boy or the good girl, and, not ruffling feathers and being a people pleaser. And that's how, you're defined as a good person, right? And then it's like you start to grow up and you're like, wait a minute, I really have all these people, like you said, draining my energy and making me question what I know to be true, because I, am listening to other people. And I think too, like sometimes, like you said, that we can, if you don't have like a strong sense of self, which I think self-love and respect and all the things that you mentioned really builds discernment. So it's like even people who like kiki in your face, you can tell energetically, like, okay, they're not messing with me. Like, you know what I mean? Their vibe is all the way off. And I know someone who has like a very healthy relationship, but she had a friend who was like in her ear all the time, telling her like, "Oh, you deserve better, this, that, and the other thing." But it really was like she was envious of the relationship that said friend had. And so her opinion or her perspective of what she was bringing in was trying to sway, my friend from leaving her partner. But it was like at the end of the day, it was really her just saying to my friend, our mutual friend, like, hey, I want a partner like this too. You know what I mean? And so we
right,
have to be able to, I think, read between the lines. And I think that self-love aspect and, having healthy boundaries and protecting your energy and becoming familiar what like your energy even feels like, because we are in a world, right, built to keep us busy and like in robot mode. So learning to slow down, learning to reconnect with ourselves so that we even know like what we actually want, actually desire, and
yeah,
what makes us feel like fulfilled and loved, and all the things too, you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of times people are chasing something and they don't even know what they're chasing.
right,
So it's like getting to know yourself. You'll be able to recognize, like, when you love yourself, you know what love feels like because you feel it within you, so you can recognize it on the external. When you build peace within, it's like you recognize when someone brings you that peace, that safety, you know what I mean?
right. No, most definitely. And back to that point, if that person would have been connected to their higher self, or even had a healthy relationship with themselves, they would have saw that it was jealousy. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
That's what
Like,
I'm
they would
saying.
have saw, like, I just want a relationship like that, instead of, pushing the other person to, end something that they probably didn't even want to end. But you value relationships and connections to the point that sometimes you value them more than you value your own opinion and your own intuition. And that be the problem, because it's like a woman who's in a relationship, and this guy's a cheater, and he's like, yeah, but I love you, and when it's good, babe, and blah. And these women will really sit there and believe this and really tell themselves like, oh, well, this is not going to happen again, and X, Y, and Z. And it's because they don't have that foundational relationship with themselves to be like, no, I know that this is wrong, I know that they're lying, I know that they're manipulating me, because they're in a lower vibration than I am. And not even sometimes in a lower vibration. It could even be that this person is just a reflection of where you are to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So all the lying and manipulating that they're doing is only a reflection of how you do it to yourself to believe them.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, as you have like more light, it's like, what's that saying? Like, something like more devils, like you like
More
attract.
levels with devils.
Yes, it's like you attract more of a higher vibration, but just of darkness, you know what I mean? So it's like they learn how to manipulate or play on your weaknesses, which, like you said, is just a reflection of what you need to see. And so if we can learn to basically feel loved and fulfilled and get to know ourselves within, then we won't need that external validation or feel the need to be like running around. And I think that like throughout the collective, we do see a lot of like divine feminine and masculines too. That I think that whatever gender you are, the energy that was on that swing of the pendulum. I think they're in that season of like being celibate and um getting to know themselves and knowing like, okay, I'm not going to settle for less than what I deserve, because they know what they deserve is, going to come to them. You know what I mean? It's on the way. And so I think that that's a nice piece. And then I think the collective that we're talking to today is more on the other side of the swing of that. Correct.
Well, you know what it is? Because, like I said, we're tapping into both archetypal gender energies. So we're talking to both spectrums. Whichever side you're on, it's really trying to realize and not screen it through your ego, but screen it through your higher self. Like, what is it do I resonate with more? Because, like you said, there are people like that were on the spectrum of, oh, I'm celibate and I know my worth and now I know my power, which was me in the last 7 years. Now I'm in the energy of, now I know my power. Now I know how to transmute energy. So it doesn't really matter who I connect with and who I potentially have sex with, or who i.e. whatever you want to call it, because I know my power. I know that as a human, I need this connection right now. I need this sexual experience right now. I need this cuddle session right now. I need someone to talk to right now. I need this right now. And the more that you have a better relationship with yourself, you start to understand it's not about the other people. It's more about what you need and what's going to bring you joy. Because once you start doing that, you start to attract other people that are looking for the same exact thing. So now it becomes
Mhm.
reciprocal.
That's true.
So instead of like, oh, well, I'm staying to myself and staying celibate because, everybody just wants sex right now and everything's about, okay, well, yeah, we're all human. Everybody wants sex. Everybody wants intimacy. But it's about what you're real to yourself about what you want.
Yes.
And that's the problem. If we
Yeah.
don't have a relationship with ourselves, and this is the thing, this is the other download that I'm getting, because people don't even know how to have a relationship with yourself. And I'll tell you why. Because you'll break up with a relationship and you're already trying to date and find somebody new.
Mhm.
Well, if you had a relationship with yourself, you will be having a relationship with yourself, not trying to replace the empty energy or space that's actually being allowed for you to expand and grow beyond with the experience that you just had.
Mhm.
Instead,
So
people are just like, oh, well, I'm just gonna go date somebody else, and I'm gonna talk. Like
mhm.
you just left a connection or a relationship, and you're already seeking somebody else.
Mhm.
That's red flag number one, that you don't have a relationship with yourself.
I agree. And I think on the other side of what you said, I think that it's so important to, like you said, I think when you're like everyone has their own journey and um are at different points in their journey, right? And so
Correct.
for me, I was in this place where I was very celibate, like you said. Then I feel like I would try to open myself up to certain connections, but I was very selective and protective of like who I allowed in my energy.
Yeah.
But I think that like knowing that I am in my divine feminine energy, I feel like it's like a magnet, right? So it's like you attract so much attention, and I
Yeah.
feel like you have to be careful, um, like you said, with who you
Transmuting energy.
entertain, just because I feel like as a divine feminine, we are the portal, right? Like we are the magic. And
Yeah.
so we actually absorb masculine energy through like intercourse, right? And so we imprint that energy through our DNA. So if you do have a lot of partners as a divine feminine or as a woman, you are absorbing a lot of different DNA and like different things
Right.
in addition to like people's wounds and fears and you know what I mean? So I feel like there's like um that double side of the sword, like you were saying, like you will find people, like you said, that are reciprocal, but I feel like you need to be really clear about like what your intentions are and what you're looking for, because I feel like you can attract a lot of people. Like I feel like people always, for me being single, I feel like I always attract a lot of people that tell me the right things, but their actions don't necessarily like back up, but they literally tell me all the right things. You know what I mean?
This will come circling back to knowing yourself and having a relationship with yourself. Being
Mhm.
able to put that boundary and be like, yeah, you're not what I'm looking for. Yeah, you're not what I need. You're not.
Mhm.
It's like I was saying. If it's not in resonation, like resonating with what it is that you want to experience, then it's a no. But
Mhm.
when you don't have a relationship with yourself, you will accept anything and everything because in your mind you're telling yourself that anything and everything is better than nothing.
Mm.
That's why when there is nothing, you're constantly trying to fill it. Instead of just being in the nothingness and be like, okay, what did I learn from that?
Mhm.
How can I grow from that? But the
I think
problem is that that would happen. Then you will move on to the next person, and then you just allowing anything and everything because you just keep going to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. But this is the point of this relationship. Why is it that we keep doing that? And the reason why you keep doing that is like we said in the beginning, failed relationships and marriages that we watched growing up, not being told to love ourselves, and now we had to be people pleasers, and we had to confine to society. If not, we wasn't going to be accepted. Religion, fear, like there's so many things
mm,
that leak into this subject, and this is why it's important to have more than one person read on it because there are different frequencies and vibrations and cosmic signatures out there that are going through the same frequency just on different spectrums.
mhm.
You know what I mean? Like we were saying.
And I think too, like we're aware that the divine feminine is always going to lead right in the spiritual realm,
Yeah.
and the masculine is going to kind of catch up. So it's like we kind of lead and do the work first, and then we kind of show our masculine like, okay, this is the way. But you will, if you are in your divine feminine energy, you will attract more masculine energy that is, like safe and secure and emotionally intelligent and like stable and things like that.
Well,
So,
it will only be a direct reflection of your own divine masculine energy being healed.
yes.
Because as a feminine, you also have divine masculine energy. So bringing it
Mhm.
back to what you said, yes, the divine feminine leads in the spirituality, but the divine masculine leads in the physical. So if you're not putting these spiritual concepts to action, which is masculine energy, it's not you're not doing anything.
Mhm.
So when you take these downloads or these concepts and you're like, okay, I have to heal this aspect of myself. I have to put these boundaries into place, which is action, which
Mm.
is you practicing your divine masculine energy as a feminine or as a masculine, being able to say, no, I don't want the sex right now, because yes, as a masculine, that is the action that you would take to show, yeah, I'm the man and I'm this, because it's all ego based, right? And it's all
Mhm.
pleasure, masculine energy. But if you're the man that's like, no, I want to be able to get to know you, you're putting your feminine energy into practice. So what are
Mhm.
you going to do? You're going to attract a better feminine counterpart because of the healthy actions that you're taking through your feminine energy
Mhm.
as a man.
I always talk to my collective about like we are the frequency, we are the vibe,
Mhm.
right? So it's like you said, if we're in a space where um we're healthy, we're going to attract healthy partnerships. But if we're not in, and I love how you talked about like how we both have masculine and feminine energy, and by setting those boundaries, like that's actually taking a step in our masculine energy. And I
Correct.
think it's important to like recognize that as a collective, for the most part, you see, masculine energy and feminine energy, and feminines in their masculine energy in an unhealed way because of, like you said, the upbringing, the programming, societal,
The
different.
religion, the
Yeah.
telling girls they have to be pure and innocent for a man to want you and marry you and take care of you, and then the man has to be the provider and the protector, and you get to have whatever you want. Like all of these things, all of these ideas have to go.
Mm.
They
I
have to go.
do. So I agree with everything except the last part, because I do believe that someone in their masculine energy is supposed to be a provider and a protector.
Mhm.
And I think it's because of, like I said, the divine feminine energy being that portal, right? That direct channel to the spiritual realm. It's like every healer needs a protector. Like there's a reason why we see that. And it's not that it's a codependency, because I think that when you're actually in your divine, like, we all have masculine and feminine energy and we should be balanced, but we usually lean towards one or the other, right? And so
Because
when
of
we're,
society.
yeah, but I feel like when we're healed, or it's a journey obviously, but as you're healing, I feel like you lean into more than one energy, so you're also balancing, like you said, both energy, because whatever energy you kind of identify with on the mainstream, you're kind of backing up and balancing that wounded energy that the collective is carrying. And so I think that it's just important to recognize that it's a deep, deep programming that a lot of people hold and carry. And like you said, the only way to really break it and to see through it is building that deep connection with self. And because you go through different stages and different levels where, was like you and in a like very celibate. Then I tried dating for a little bit, but I just still felt like, I've been in this deep like self-worth and not settling type of energy. So now I'm just kind of like, no, now I know exactly like what I want and what I'm looking for. And because I am like at a point in my life where I'm looking for like that connection, that commitment, um I won't entertain, other things unless I, feel like it could be, something serious type thing.
Correct.
Because go ahead.
No, no, no. So I just wanted to circle back to where you said the last part about the masculine energies in being providers. Well, divine
Mm.
feminine is failing to realize is that they've been in their masculine energy this whole time. Yeah, been providing and being single mothers for generations now. So at the end of the day, you have to realize that the reason why you won't allow a man to come in and provide is because you've been providing.
Well, I think that's a trauma response, right? Like, and we as
Correct.
a society, we
Correct. It's a trauma response, right?
and as
And
a
it could
society
and it could
too,
be
like that
and it could,
that independent woman like that independent culture of that pushing that you should hustle, like, as we start to raise our conscience, we realize like, money is a frequency. So we just have to align to the energy versus like doing, earning, performing. And yes, we are going to take like inspired action. It's not like we're going to sit on the couch and eat potato chips and like that's it. But like
but this is what a lot of women want. They want to go backwards into the 1950s and want men to take care of them, but we already saw what happens when that happens.
So I think that it's a different, I think it's a different type of energy that's coming through because I've always been like I am a single mother. I've always been independent. Like I put myself through college. Like, you know, I've always been super independent. But I feel like it's weird to say out loud because it's like I don't, you know, it's like one of those things where I never wanted to say it, but it's like am at a point where I do want a man to take care of me and I do want a man to provide for me because I do want to step more into like my feminine energy because I love to create, right? Like I love to be in my feminine energy and to be like in the role of a mother and being so but that's like my journey, you know what I mean? So that's why I feel like, you know, people have different wishes and different things, but my creations are like my stability, my, you know, money, my that, you know what I mean? Because the work that I do and the things that I do is all from a point of creation. So when I have to be in my masculine energy because I have to provide, it takes me out of that feminine energy or puts me in a energy where I'm creating more out of a place from, I don't want to say desperation, but it's like that kind of energy where instead of being like aligned and feeling like, you know what I mean? So I feel like, but I think it's something that we see across the way. And I think that that's why we see a lot of feminines like, you know, with a lot of like chronic illness, because I think that everything is like a reflection of energy, right? And I think that wearing too many hats and doing too many things is exhausting. You know what I mean? And I think that that's why we're seeing like this upset. And I think you of, you know, all people know, right? That it's like in order for us to do the inner work, to do the shadow work, it's like things have to come to the surface. So we're seeing a lot of division, we're seeing a lot of separation, and people want to fixate and focus on that. But what we really need to say is like, oh, actually, like, you know, I actually have compassion for, you know, said situation or person, and I'm gonna work together to like find a solution versus like seeing things like you said by, you know, all the different ways that, you know, we've been taught. But I think that, you know, shifting from that Piscean energy of that era and coming into the age
Mhm.
of Aquarian, it's like that's why those things were imprinted and implemented, because of that Piscean duality, because of that, you know, two fish swimming against each other and that subconscious programming. And it's like now we're in a place where we're recognizing like, hey, this isn't working. Like what's happening or what's going on isn't what I really truly want. And I think people are trying to take the steps, but I think that a lot of people don't really have the awareness of like sometimes where to start or why
Why? Because
problems
they
are
don't
happening.
understand. Because they don't understand why it's happening.
Yes.
So this is why I tell people astrology is so important, because you need to understand it. And I'm so glad you mentioned it. The Pisces energy and era was all about religion, spirituality, man and male, I mean male and female, and being able to play these separate roles, and one was bigger than the other, one was lesser than the other. And then when you go into the Aquarius age, it doesn't take you out of the chokehold, because now all of that is being challenged. This is why you have the poly. This is why you have the non binary. This is why you have the trans. This is why you have, you know, five people building a village to raise 13 children, because it's, there's so many other ways to
Hmm.
do it. There's so many other ways that it works for those people. It works for that vibration. It works for that consciousness. Great. So we have to be able to take ourselves out of this thing where, well, for me to be able to be happy, I have to give up my independency and be with a man, or do this, or to be able to, like you were saying earlier, to create. And this is why I have a problem with this, because you can be, both things can be true at the same time.
I,
In the same way that the man, you're expecting the man to provide, there are certain things he's not going to provide for you because he doesn't understand why he needs to provide them. As for your own creation, as a feminine, you should be able to use your own divine masculine energy to provide for that creation.
mm.
You understand what I'm saying? So then as the man, he shouldn't have to be the provider 100% either, because from your creation you can also provide.
Oh, of course. But I'm saying that like on the, you know, for, I think as a whole, right? I think
Mhm.
like the elite basically attacked the divine union,
Mhm.
separating the divine union and families because we we really need, right? Like we're counterparts. We're said like as humans we crave connection, we crave relationships. So it's not, it, as long as you are connecting, and again this circles back to being whole and secure within self and having a relationship within self. I feel
Yeah.
like as long as you're connecting from a place of like I'm whole and I'm complete and I'm not like looking for something because of lack, you know what I mean? I think that, we're learning that, hey, wait, this is actually not the way things are supposed to be, like, and I think that that's why we see so many, single mothers, and I think those are the people like you're talking about that are actually coming together, which is that age of Aquarian energy, right, of building
Yeah.
community, building compassion, like realizing that, we are all interconnected, we are all a reflection of each other. And obviously it's not going to happen overnight, and people are waking up at different speeds and different, stepping into different frequencies. But I feel like, speaking about um that, like speaking about connections and speaking about what people, I think deep down are really looking for. And coming from like a healthy place, I think these conversations are great because I think that, like you said, a lot of people, I think that sometimes jump from relationship to relationship. Some people do it, for the physical aspect and to feed the ego, but I think other people do it because like, they love and they're looking for love, right? And so it's also, like
But
you said, coming
themselves.
back to self and going, you know what, I don't need that outside of me. Can love myself, you know what I mean? And then I think you're going to attract more of a healthy union. But it's like sometimes people don't realize that that's why they are attracting or in that pattern, because they're like, oh, I'm a good person, like I love people,
But
and
it's because of
but they don't have
ego.
boundaries, they don't have that
It's
that
ego. It's
yes.
ego. It's not being able to say I'm the problem. It's not being able to, because people like that will always blame the other person. But I'm such a good person, and they still cheated on me, and still, yes, but you still break up with certain aspects of yourself to obtain these type of people.
Yes.
And that's the problem. And that's why I said earlier, it's like a man shouldn't have to break up with his feminine self because he needs to be a provider and a macho man for this wife or this woman. And a woman shouldn't have to break up with her masculine self simply because she needs to be submissive and soft for the man. Both people should be able to equally practice both archetypal energies because there are men who are very good at feminine things like cleaning or cooking or whatever, and that will take a load off of the woman where she can now be creative and be these other things. And so we won't be able to have these conversations until everybody puts their fucking ego aside. And it's like, yeah, I, as a man, I do have feminine tendencies, I do like to go get a pedicure and a haircut, and I like to have these conversations with my woman because it allows me to get my emotions out. But until we don't have these conversations, nobody's going to be able to pinpoint what it is that they need because they don't know their self.
Mhm. And I think too, like people are so unaware that, you know, divine masculines and divine feminines run on different cycles and different clocks. Like a divine masculine energy is running off of solar energy and running off of that 24-hour clock, where a divine feminine is running off the lunar cycle of a 28-day cycle. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's completely different energy. And until you dive deeply into self, you don't recognize a lot of these things. And I have, really taken the time the last like 7 years to really like dive in and go within and really like question everything. And I think that, learning that what works for you and learning that, we need to be more open minded and more like accepting. But a lot of it
which
stems
is
back
which
to
is
people being,
Aquarius energy.
well, it's that energy of like people being so disconnected from self, right? And then they're judging other people and they're coming from a place of ego. And
Mhm.
so literally if we all just like stopped looking outside of ourselves and went inside and looked inside, we would literally fix so many problems in the world, because what we do too, like, amplifies out. And so I just think that, like, having conversations and trying to, like, teach people of, like, hey, first of all, like, there is an imbalance in energy, and this is how you can recognize it, right? These are what red flags look like, and this is how you can, like, step into your power. Because I was that person that, I wouldn't say like I jumped from, like, person to person, or anything like that, but for a long time, like, I always, like, loved love, and I felt like I always knew I was, like, destined for, like a big love connection type thing. And
Mhm.
so I feel like I attracted a lot of, like, narcissistic people, but they were so manipulative. And so when I sat back and kind of looked at, myself, like you said, of like, okay, you're clearly the problem. Like, why are you attracting people like this? It was because I didn't have healthy boundaries. Like, I really tried to, and like you said, you really do give up little pieces of yourself, like, time after time after time, right? When you're in a relationship, because you love that person and you're trying to appease that
You
person.
love that person more than you love yourself.
Yes. And so, like, now I'm at a place where, like, I love so hard and so deep, but I'm like, I love me more, and I'm always going to choose me first.
You had to turn
So,
it inward
yes.
instead of putting it, and that's what people don't understand.
Yep.
Until you don't start putting it inward and start doing the things that you do for other people, bend over backwards, and I'm a sacrifice, and I love him so much, and I love her so much, that I'm a do that for yourself. And
Yes.
watch how these people will have temper tantrums because they're not getting the things from you that actually heals them. But what are you getting in return that heals you? Nothing.
Yeah.
Right? It's constantly why you're losing your identity in yourself after every relationship. The goal is after every relationship is not to lose yourself. It's to be like, well, I know myself more after that relationship. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know why she did this or he did
Yeah.
that. You should be able to pinpoint. Well, I know that why that went south. I know because of this, because you know yourself.
Hmm.
But if you don't know yourself because you keep breaking up with yourself for every single chance of love and passion, and oh, this could be the one, and you're never going to find yourself.
Hmm.
You're constantly trying to find yourself in other people, but we're going to leave this here because if not, we're never going to get to the fucking reading.
Yes. Let's go.
I told you we're going to start with them damn downloads.
I know.
So we're gonna start with the reading. She's gonna tap into divine masculine. I'm gonna tap into divine feminine. I need 1 second. Because baby, the energy is getting hot in here.
I know.
So I wanna say hello to everybody in the chat because um I know that you guys have been in here, but we've been like channeling and shit like that. So I know y'all in here. So I just wanna say hello. Okay. Remember
Hello.
to share the video, comment if you guys are resonating. We're about to get into the reading. I'm about to get into prayer right now. Light some sage, and then we're gonna get into the reading. Like I need my fan on, honey.
It's so funny. Right before we started, I'm like, wow, it's getting hot.
Yeah, it's that energy. So let's go into prayer. I hope everybody's enjoying the transmission here. Myself, like you said, of like, okay, you're clearly the problem. So let's get into prayer. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for waking us up today. Allow us to be an extension of you. Understanding, overstanding, and understanding that we're constantly connected to God, source, spiritual guides, archangels, ascended masters, ancestors, anything that is high vibrational to get these messages across to the collective of divine feminine and divine masculine so they can be able to expand and evolve beyond what they can see through these connections in this space and time. Thank you for your love, your wisdom, and support every day in this collaboration with the Soul Shifter, as we know, Nikki, so we can be able to expand together during this transmission. Thy is the sun and the sun is me. It is the one and it is we. The one that gives us polarity in life, it gave us evolution, polarity in night. Two lights that derive from the same source and makes us in its image from the ultimate force. It travels through space and archetypes of mind where here in the below you can also find. As above, it is below. When we transcend, we return and we grow. Remind yourself of who you are as you come from the light of God, as you come from the shining star. So it be. All right. Some of this energy going here. So
My
we're
heart
gonna
chakra
start.
feels open, so that's a good sign.
You said what?
I said my heart chakra feels like it's open, so that feels good.
This is the heart chakra bell.
Is it? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, I'm in tune then.
Yo, bitch, we're in tune. Because I feel it too. You feel the tingliness
Literally.
and the openness. Yeah. So we're in tune. Look at sexuality in reverse at the bottom of the deck.
Mm.
Divine feminine. Okay. And then mystery. So divine feminine, this is spirit talking about how you have to relearn how to have mystery to you. How to have mystery, how to keep men wondering. Even if you're into women, whoever it is that you're into, there needs to be some type of mystery. And the most powerful asset that a woman or a divine feminine being has is the mystery of not being able to give all of their power at once. And if you look at a lot of divine feminine energies at this point in time, in this present time of generation, you see that the asses are out, the titties are out, everybody's twerking. And okay, we're all getting money. Let's get this car. Let's do this. Let's do that. Everybody is so open and so this about their sexual relationships, who they're fucking and sucking, who they're doing, what's going on over here, who you're dating, who's dead. And this is why everybody is so intrigued in what you got, because you're being so open with something that's supposed to be so sacred. So now with this energy, divine feminine, where is the mystery? And it's so funny because you see, I'm getting goosebumps. You see a lot of divine masculines complaining about the mystery. But you want to know what's so funny? Y'all beat it out of them. Literally. Spiritually, emotionally, mentally. Divine masculine beat it out of divine feminine, and now that it's out in the open, y'all want to throw the cat back in the box. Literally.
Mhm.
Because y'all can't handle the heat. You know that I'm hearing spirit say, I can do anything better than you. No, you can't. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, she can. Because she gave birth to you. And until y'all keep trying to box the power and the energy that gave you birth, you're never going to be able to stabilize yourself. Go ahead, because I feel like I'm getting pissed off.
I'm like, hold on, I got something. I think what you were saying too is when you're in that energy, whether you are gender doesn't matter, but when you are in that energy, you are going to attract lower vibrational ego based people. So even if you are, I think, like it's almost like as a divine feminine, it's like when you're in your dark feminine energy, right? You're going to be like so appealing and sexually like magnetic, but that's the mystery that I feel like you were saying, right? Is like that's your appeal because like not everybody has access to you, you know what I mean? And even though
Correct.
you exude that energy, it's like you're not for everyone, you know what I mean? And I think that it depends what energy you're playing into and what the results will be when you're, depending on what side of the pendulum you're on. You know what I mean? If you're out there, like you said, like twerking and whatever, you're not going to find a man who really values and respects you like you might feel like, you know what I mean, you should be, or the portrayed as, because it's like you're attracting people that are just seeing you from an ego place and wanting to see or have a surface level connection versus, maybe something deeper or genuine. You know what I mean?
Most definitely. I also kind of feel like because that now we have pleasure in reverse.
Mm.
So this is also talking about how everything should be looked at from a pleasurable place, not even love. Because in love, there's a lot of chaotic and a lot of violent and a lot of very depressing energy. For you to genuinely love somebody unconditionally, there's so many things that you have to endure and embody or even just accept to be in the vibration of genuine unconditional love. So spirit's way of saying you need to be able to take the pleasure out of everything and find the expansion or the lesson in everything.
Mhm. And I also got to, when you first said it, about that's like your womb space, right? Like your portal, your area of creation, which is also tied to your abundance. So I feel like when we were talking in the intro about channeled messages, that's where I was saying, like, I've kind of circled back to, because now I'm like, oh, wait, my energy is actually tied to my sacral, to my powerhouse. So I'm not going to be out here entertaining or giving anyone my energy, because that means that I'm going to give them access to my abundance, my creativity, which is what my masculine energy, right, is trying to take inspired action,
Yep.
and work with, right? So then it's like, if I leak it out to other people, you know what I mean? They're going to want it, because our energy is very healing, right? So you're going to attract people that need healing, and that's why that level of self, that level of love is so important, because then you can use your discernment and feel into the energy as like, is this lust or is this love? You know what I
And
mean?
I can speak into that because I have, oh my god. So when I came back from celibacy and I started like dating and having sex with people again, it was very much like demonic. It was very much like I need you. I need your sex. I need your
Yes.
energy.
Yeah.
And it's like I will suck the soul out of you type of energy, and you start to see the demonic like manifestation within how these people desperately need your light to be able to feel themselves. So go ahead, because I see you got something.
So I was just shuffling for the divine masculine, and I was hearing that I feel like where we see a big wound in the masculine energy is a lot of masculines are running out here without vision. And
Mm,
the big picture thinking came out, which is Palladian energy, and it says visionary inspired ideas. And
yeah.
so I feel like a masculine energy that is in that quote unquote protector provider energy, right? He's basically like laying the foundation or the blocks, and the divine feminine is kind of giving her like intuitive knowledge in her, of, hey,
Well,
do this or whatever.
it's kind of like when sorry, because
No, you're
before I
fine.
forget, it's kind of like when the man brings home the food and she cooks the meal.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And that's what I think, we see a lot of masculines that are out here really without like no vision, no plan, no goals, right? And so we see a lot of feminine energy, like in that independent energy, and that like, I'm going to hustle and get what I need to get. And it just takes, it's like that shift and that misalignment, that I think like the elite has kind of been imprinting in us in different ways, and trying to have us consume in different ways, right? Like subscribing. And so I feel like the masculines are really in a time where it's like, you need to figure out what your vision is. Like, what do you actually want in this world? And I think as soon as like they start to step into that vision, that's when like that feminine energy is going to kind of come in and help, like, hey, let me help build you, right? They always say like, behind every strong
Whether
man is
whether it's low vibrational or high vibrational. Because
yes,
it can be the man that could be like, I want the kids, the children, the house, the woman, the wife, right? But it could also be a man who's honest with himself and he's like, I don't want the kids. I want
yeah,
the stripper. I want the cars. I want no kids.
yeah,
But that woman will come in that is perfect for you. You know what I'm saying? Where
mhm,
you don't have to cheat, you don't have to do all this crazy shit to be able to bend yourself over backwards because you and that woman want the same things. But
Hmm.
if you're going around trying to lure in high vibrational women that want the wife life and this and that and trying to turn them into the hood hopping hoe, like that's not gonna work.
I think, and this is my personal opinion and you can agree or disagree, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
truly believe that we have, like, the reason why I don't casually date is because, like, I believe that I have soul contracts with people, and I
Hmm.
know certain people are supposed to, like, come in, so to speak, and I'm learning through them, whether it was karmic before or whether whatever. And so I think that that when we are in a loving relationship with ourself and we're living in our authentic self, like, and we're being authentic to who we truly are, I feel like you naturally attract other people that are authentic, like other people that
Hmm.
um and the people
Yeah,
that are not,
it's
they'll
it's
clearly
gonna be
see.
authentic. It's gonna be authentic, but the spectrum is always going to vary. The degree is always going to vary because, like I said, it can be somebody who's very authentic within the fact that they like to live this lifestyle, so they'll attract somebody
A
who
partner that will
also
live in that
enjoys.
lifestyle with them. Yes.
And to
Well,
us, they'll be solo vibrational, but to them, they're living the best experience that they've had.
yes. And I think trying to, like, change and conform your partner to fit into, like, the boxes that you want, I think that just tells you that that's, like, not your person, right? That your person will fit into your vision, right? Because you're in your authentic energy, right? You're in your essence. So your partner is naturally going to be like, "Oh, you want to live on a farm? I want to live on a farm. Oh, you want to have chickens?
Yeah,
Oh, I want to have
yeah.
chickens. Like, you want to have kids? I want to have
That's
kids."
only a reflection of how you're willing to bend yourself to also obtain what you want. Because if you are sitting here trying, like you said, control and change this person to, come into the person that you need them to be to experience whatever it is that you want to experience, that also means that is a reflection of how you either have to change certain things about yourself to even reach that vibration, or you're trying to change somebody else to reach that vibration. Either way, it's wrong
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to change something forcefully for it to happen. When all you really have to do is go inside of yourself, like we said earlier, and just be like, okay, what are the things about myself that I have to change
And I
to be
feel like
able to attract?
when you really love yourself, you attract partners that make you fall, like, even more in love with yourself. You know what I mean? Because it's like they're reflecting back to you how you already feel about yourself.
So,
And so they're amplifying that energy too, because so it's like easier for you to see and feel. And I think people just need to, like, actually start to get serious and, like, really ask themselves, like, what do I actually want and what am I looking for? And if, like, a person comes in, it doesn't matter, like, what they look like or what assets they have or whatever success means to you. It's really like, are they in alignment with, like, what I need and where I'm going, right? And, like, do they
correct.
fit into versus I'm gonna if I'm doing this whole thing, then I'm not gonna change everything that I'm doing because this person came in and now I'm just gonna, like, abandon myself to go be in this relationship.
And
you know
that's what most people do
hmm
because they gave up their will, which is the next card. My will to thy will, micromanaging the universe within yourself.
mm.
Because how are you're sitting here, right? Whether you're male or female, and you're trying to micromanage somebody else's life, personality, what they look like, who they are, what they can give you, and what they can't, to be able to fit your universe. When in reality, you need to figure out what it is actually fits in your universe, so you're not busy trying to take pieces from people to make it fit.
And I think too, it's like we're kind of programmed and imprinted with that, like, with so many things that we're not even aware of until we really start to go within and do that work, and just becoming, like, aware. Like, I don't know, every time I go through something, I'm just like, wow, like you said, because I feel like I do take time to, like, zoom out, and I'm always asking myself, like, what's the big picture here? Like, what was I learning? What did this teach me? How am I like shifting? What am I supposed to be like? What, because I always know like I'm on this path moving forward, right? Because, and so I feel like people who are on a journey, it's like you're going to take that time to go within. And if you're not on a journey, it's like now is the time for you to like wake up and start to have a relationship with yourself, start to get serious about like what you actually want and what you need. And like you said, listening and like following your will and stop like settling for less than what you deserve.
Which brings you to the next card, which is being called soul gifts and training. It's time to step it up. Because it goes back to what you were talking about, like what is it that you truly fucking want? Like you need to step it up. Whatever it is that you want, you need to step it the fuck up. You want people to step up, you need to step up. You want people to support, you need to support. You need to be a direct reflection of whatever it is that you want. Because you have to understand that a lot of you, like you said earlier, have no fucking vision, and then you're mad that you end up in a relationship or having a child with somebody that never ended up being a wife, a mother, or father, or a husband
Or as a gold digger, you know what I mean? And then
because
every
you
time
had
that,
no vision.
and you're flashing around like living in the ego, right? So like this is what I have, this is what I have. So you're gonna attract women that are go, oh, this is what I want to take, this is what I want to
This is
take,
what I want to
you know.
take.
Um, and so for the masculine energy too, like I feel like, you know, we see so many people that are adults but really are it like little children in adult bodies, right? And I think sometimes that masculines are looking for that mothering, that
Mother figure.
nurturing energy through their feminine. And so this card, the deep love mother's milk, I feel like is like men learning how to or the masculine learning how to reprogram and mother themselves, giving
Yeah.
themselves what they need. Because I think that, you know, we see this toxic imprinting that like if you're masculine, then you got to be like strong and you know you like
What I was
you
saying
need
earlier,
all that
abandoning
nature, right?
abandoning your divine feminine energy just to be this, oh, and I,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then it's like that macho you know, masculine energy, that toxic energy, and really like they're angry and they're hurt, but I feel like they don't feel like they have a safe place to like lay down their sword, so to speak, because I feel like in the past when they have tried to like show a vulnerable side to them, I feel like there are feminine energies that kind of weaponized it or used it against them. And
Oh
so
yeah.
spirit is really
Those
asking,
are women who are their toxic masculine energy.
exactly, exactly. So it's like using your ability to reparent and mother yourself when you're feeling triggered so that you can start to move towards emotional intelligence and emotional balance. Because as the masculine, right, like the feminine is really looking for a safe place because she's always absorbing, right? She's got energy all around her and she's like always censoring and channeling all this energy. And so she needs like a stable place in order to be able to like fall apart and dive in deep and to feel things. And so as a masculine, it's your role, or it's helpful when you're in that role of providing a safe place for her to dive deep. And you do that by first building that relationship and that stability within yourself, building like emotional intelligence. Because a lot of what I feel like this masculine collective um to step more into their sovereign energy and to like who they are and stepping into their power. Because I feel like the masculines that are in this collective are someone that is looking for like more of a divine connection versus someone that is in their ego. And so this is the way like that you do that. This is the way that you step through that door, by building that emotional stability within yourself and like giving yourself, mothering yourself, giving yourself the things that you need when you feel your emotions are, off track. And recognizing that you're picking up a lot of energy that's not yours. So also learning how to like clear your energy and
Which is
shield
funny
your energy
because you're
too.
it's funny because the I went into the tarot while you're talking, and the first card that comes out is the Libra energy for the Justice card,
Mm,
which is the scale, which is the balance, and it goes back to what I was talking about, where enable for the man to be the divine masculine, he has to tap into his divine feminine.
mm-hmm,
For you to be a great father, you have to be compassionate. You have to be understanding. You have to be intuitive. These are all feminine archetypes,
mm-hmm,
right? And for the woman to be this immaculate woman that everybody wants her to be, yes, she has to tap into her masculine energy. She has to be independent. She has to be a provider as well.
mm-hmm.
But her tapping into that masculine energy willingly, without feeling like she has to sacrifice her womanhood or her divine feminine energy, is what's going to allow her to be that.
And I think it's a huge programming shift that I think we are seeing right now is, we've really been imprinted to believe that we need to earn, perform, um, do in order to receive. And when you're in your feminine energy, it's like your energy, right, is your currency, is the frequency. So you, like, when you were saying, like, I have to, step into my masculine energy so that I can create like that stability to create um my creative like projects and things like that. For me, it was, yeah, I need to step into my worth, my knowing of that I can do it and I can do all the things. But it's like that's also what is going to bring in the masculine energy of the partnership and help elevate, you know what I mean? So I can be more in that soft energy and be in that creative energy, because what I feel like is like the masculine energy is being asked to like walk through the door, like go through the door and start to lead the feminine, like in the physical world. Where's your vision? Because this card has a door. This card is like, once you said the Libra card, this card was the card and it looks like two columns with the
They're
doorway.
all doors.
And then this one has a mirror. So it's like
They're
looking
all
at
doors,
yourself.
and this one has a portal.
Exactly. So it's like looking at yourself and realizing that whatever relationships you've been attracting, it's been trying to help you see something within yourself that you need to fix, that you need to heal, because that is what is attracting that type of like bad partner that you actually don't want. Is that wound. So when you can look at yourself and say, oh wow, like I really don't value myself, or I really don't have boundaries, or I am a people pleaser, well, that's why you're attracting lower level energy that wants to siphon your energy, because they see that within you. They know, like they're like you're like it's like a moth to a flame, right? It's like they can
Right.
clearly see that wound, and then they're going to come to you and they're going to siphon out your energy. And so being able to stand strong and know who you are, we're going to keep circling back to that main theme of like, you cannot abandon yourself. You have to be in a relationship with yourself first. And it's like, just like when you get on an airplane, right? It's like the first thing that they tell you is when the oxygen masks drop, it's like put your mask on first and then your children. Because if you save your
Correct.
children, but then you don't have enough air, right, for your mask, then it's like, what good are you to your children? So it's like, first you have to save yourself and then you'll actually have more energy for other people, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. And now I'll speak on the other side, because spirit, while you're talking spirit, it's like, yeah, but then there's the other collective where it's the opposite. They're not willing to walk through the door because of what they have to sacrifice to receive in return. So now we have the people who they're so used to getting what they want and not sacrificing anything to get it. And now God is like, you have to sacrifice your ego at the door to walk to the door. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be able to feel uncomfortable and expressing your emotions to be able to have this healthy relationship that you want. You have to be able to be submissive in certain areas of your life to be able to accept it and receive it from somebody else. And these people will not do it because they've been so codependent on their own independency.
Mm-hmm. And I think
So,
too, like as a divine, like as a masculine who's trying to date someone who's in their like their divine feminine energy, it's like you cannot fake the funk with her or with that connection, because she is gonna smell it out, dream it out, like see it something, and so you
yeah.
cannot lie. You know what I mean? That's why you have to be in your authentic energy, and you're going to attract inauthentic energy if you're not being authentic. And so, like you said, I think it's so important that we all, right, just like take a minute to put that mirror on ourselves and look at ourselves and ask ourselves, like, okay, if I'm not in a happy, healthy relationship, why is that? Is it because I'm, seeking outside validation? So I'm constantly out in the streets trying to, like,
Yeah, whether
a
it's my
girl to tell
friends
me,
drinking,
you know,
this, that, trying to numb myself, or the overworking, the overpart, it's all a reflection of you running from something. Now,
yeah,
now I'm gonna circle back to what you said when you said, you can't lie to divine feminine, right? Because it's a reflection of how you lie to your own self about your own emotions, divine masculine. Now, this is the problem because you're talking about this, and these are the cards that I have on my table. Libra with the Justice. We have the Seven of Pentacles, which is doing the work. Now you find divine masculine forcing himself to do the work so he doesn't look like the liar. He doesn't look like the person that, oh, well, I just said that because X, Y, and Z. Now you're here trying to impress the Empress
mm, you have to
because
show up
the
for her.
Empress is micromanaging you. And what a lot of you don't realize is that you have a hate relationship with it. You have a love and hate relationship with it because you see that it puts you on a better path, but you also see that it's forcing you to break down the things that makes you a man in your eyes, right? But then here we have the Queen of Pentacles, which is Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus, which is talking about no, it's making you more foundational.
Mm.
It's making you more solid. It's making your money ever more flowing. It's making you make better decisions. It's making you see yourself in a light where other people saw you in the other way. So it brings me back to those women who weaponized the energy. Where you were like, oh yeah, women would weaponize it when he would open up and he would do this and correct. But now you're seeing that this divine feminine is not like that. And if anything is guiding you. So now you have to learn how to do what? Mother yourself.
I think we see, a lot of our generation that is, around our age group. I think a lot of we saw a lot of like toxicity growing up as a
Yeah.
collective, and so I think that there's definitely like this disruption in energy right now where people I think are really being asked to like look at what it is in their life that is not working or that is like keeps circling back around. But I also, when you were talking about you said something and I wanted to touch on it and I forgot, and I just remembered and I forgot again. It'll come back to me because it was important.
Yeah.
You were talking about oh, I'm gonna leave it alone, it'll come back in a minute. Oh, that's what it was. One of the reasons why, right, is because when you were talking about the masculine and doing the work and the divine feminine not being able to lie to her and things like that, in order to be in a healthy masculine or feminine energy depending on what you associate with, you have to do the inner work, right? You have to go within and look at your shadow aspects and you have to do the work. So if you start dating a divine feminine, the reason why it can be uncomfortable, and you were saying like it's what you want but it's also what you run away from, is because I think a lot of the masculines didn't grow up with like a loving, nurturing, divine feminine mother figure, you know what I mean? And so when they see a divine feminine who is loving and nurturing, and it feels like that unconditional love, I feel like it feels unfamiliar, and it also feels scary. And I know like masculines will say to me, like, I feel like you can see right through me. Like, I think that, like, I feel like you can see like all aspects of me, and it scares the crap out of me. And I
Yeah.
feel like it keeps people, if they're not willing to do the work. And so, like, your light is your greatest gifts. Your light is always going to be hidden in your deepest shadows, your deepest wounds. And I feel like that's why the disruption is coming in relationships, or making you like almost putting you in timeout, because you're being asked to go through spiritual like obstacles and challenges, and kind of going through the unknown. But it's really helping you like step into your personal power and step into your masculine energy, that authority, so that your heart chakra can open and expand and can bring you in the things that you're like actually seeking and desiring. But right now, your heart chakra is so closed off that you're like pushing away the things that you actually want out of fear, and out of like that, am I good enough? Like, can I do this? Can I show up and do the work that I need to do? And so it's like, yes, you can. You just have to move forward, and you're taking baby steps, and you might not know what each step looks like,
You
but it's
just
like
have to
as you take,
recommit to yourself.
yes. And
It's
realizing
going back to
strength,
not
right?
breaking up with yourself.
Yes. And so it is going to be a lot of like that unknown, and you're kind of like things are hidden from you. But it's like the more that you tap in and listen to that feminine energy within you of what your intuition is guiding you towards, it's like I have like male friends, and they'll be like, oh, I've been dreaming about this and I've been dreaming about that. And I'm like, well, do you know like your dreams are like giving you information? And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how do you not, like put two and two together? That And so, like, just being open, right? That there are signs and synchronicities like all around us, and paying attention to the things that you're seeing, or, like if you're thinking about a certain person, or, it's for a reason. And so
Yeah.
being able to like step into your power and follow the things that like you're being called to do, even if it feels a little scary, even if it feels a little unknown, it's like this is where you're going to feel the most like masculine, the most happy, the most joyous, because you're opening your heart, you're actually attracting in the things that you really want. And that's why like the disruption is happening right now. So it's like actually be excited, even though it might not feel like it, or you don't know why, but it's like spirit is
It's
really saying
because
to be excited for the
it's
disruption.
the shift. It's the shift, and people have to remember we just got out of Venus retrograde, Mars retrograde in Cancer. Venus retrograde was in Libra. Or am I lying? But whichever retro, no, it was in Aries or something like that. But whatever it
Yeah.
was, you have to realize that that you said it earlier. It's not so much more anymore about pinpointing how you can fix the other person to fix the relationship or the connection. It's more about how we can balance ourselves to make a better foundation for whatever connection or relationship it could potentially be. Now the other thing that I have here is the four cups, the seven of swords, and then the magician. So a lot of you, what you were doing was telling yourself that the reason why things weren't working was because of the other person. When in reality, the reason why things weren't working was because of the other person within inside of you that you weren't paying attention to.
Mhm. And that person was helping you see that, right? So I feel like
Correct.
that's why like as humans, right, we need that mirror sometimes, because it's like, we'll get the signs and synchronicities, but sometimes, we're so busy and in that 9 to 5, that robotic type of lifestyle, especially in the United States, that it keeps us, it makes it harder for us to be in alignment, because the energy itself is not in alignment. So it's like trying to put like your square in a circle, and you're trying and it's like frustrating. But it's like that's why I think so many of us are feeling the disruption, feeling, because it's like we're like recognizing like, hey, this isn't the way things are supposed to be, or this isn't what I want, or. And so we're all waking up and making changes within ourselves so that we can come together, right, and making more changes for the collective, make changes, for the children and things like that. I feel like we all have that, we're feeling that need to, like you said, shift, and the energy, the astrology that's happening around this is like forcing us to, whether we want to or not.
Or
And so it's
not.
like, you know what I mean? It's like you either get in line and you do the work, or you're going to be miserable, or you're going to be sick. And so it's like,
Correct, which is also funny because it's taking me to the new moon in Taurus that we're about to have. I think the 27th or something like
yep.
that. So this new moon with the star keeper, the cosmic ancestors see the light by staying grounded. A lot of you, this is going to be a very deep download to grasp, but a lot of you are going to start realizing that the reason why you have certain kids, or you have certain situations with certain relationships and certain traits within yourself, is because you have to realize a lot of you had children with people that never had the light codes or the love codes or the unconditional vibration to be able to raise that child. Okay, that's number one, which is also a direct reflection to your own relationship with your own inner child, an aspect of yourself, whether you're male or female. Now, a lot of you are dealing with people who have absent fathers, absent mothers, absent this, but it's only a reflection of the absent inner child within yourself, or the absent perception of you being able to see that the reason why this person can't be a father or be a mother is because they were never allowed to be a child or were taught to be those things.
And I'm hearing lineage too. Like I feel a lot of us are in
Cosmic
ancestral
ancestors.
and generational patterns, and we're being asked to break them too. You know what I mean? And
Correct.
I
So a
think
lot of
that,
you are gonna feel like, oh, well, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, or am I doing the right thing? Or you have to realize that you have the blueprint. If you're somebody who grew up with a parent who wasn't there, you know exactly what it is to have nobody there. So you should be able to have the blueprint to be there for somebody because you went through the contrast.
what I find, like, so I can speak on this because I actually have two children with two different fathers. And
Hmm.
so for me, well, first of all, I believe that, they both were like soul contracts of, destined, relationships and children that were supposed to come out of these connections. So I'll start there. But one of my psychic friends, she always jokes around, and she always like says, like, how did you pick like literally the two worst people on the planet to have children with? And I'm like, I recognize that, one, a lot of people who grow up in that toxicity, like both masculines, both grew up in situations where they basically said, like, I do not like my father, I don't want to be anything like my father, but then they ended up mirroring a lot
Being
of their
just like
fathers,
them
you know
because it's genetics.
and so that's why I think the awareness is so important, right? Because if we can look and say, like, I know, like SA was in my bloodline, right? And so as a mother, like, and when I looked after it happened to me, and like doing my healing work and things like that, I really started to look in my line, and I'm like, wow, this has happened, like, up the line. And so when I had my daughter, I'm like, oh, like this, like, and I started,
Reprogram.
and so when I started to think about it, I'm like, oh, well, I actually, like, I was the first person in my family to like tell and go to trial and do like the right things of getting that like justice. So I think too, like, when I had
Oh
my
my God! Wait, 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 wait! Because something just clicked for me about you.
what?
So spirit just put something into perspective. You got the card, the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that yes, you want to be protected, provided for, but the thing is that you have to be able to reprogram the genetic shift of being SA'd or being submissive to that type of man. That's why you pick the worst two.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to be able to separate yourself to then become independent enough to be able to create the new timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you are on the new timeline, is to be able to merge with this other thing that
So
now you're starting to learn.
I feel like people learn the best, right, from like stories and real life
Yeah.
examples. And I don't mind being open. And so you're completely right when you say that. And it's funny because like I know that I'm attracting a partner that is a projector and a provider because the last like 4 years probably I've been on this deep journey of building like safety and stability within myself because
Yeah.
my external world, there was no safety, there was no stability, there was so much chaos that it was like the duality, right? It was like my outside world was absolutely crazy, but I, in my internal world, I knew what was going on. I had that higher perspective. So I'm like, okay, even though I don't have it on the outside, I know I'm building it on the inside. And so I think that that's why having like awareness is so important because like I realized like I've never felt safe. I've never felt safe in this world. I was
Yeah.
never protected by anyone. And so I had to learn, right, how to be my own protector, how to be my own provider, not feeling, right, like I need that like knight to come in and save me, right? Because I
Correct.
don't need saving. But it's like that's almost the energy that's coming in now because I know, right, that I don't need that. It's not a codependency thing.
Because
It's
you
more of
have
like
it.
an inner knowing. Like, you know what I
You
mean?
have it. So
Yes.
so it goes back to the
Reflecting
receiving.
now.
It goes back to the receiving, which goes back to yes. So now the Queen of Pentacles is talking about a lot of you need to learn how to receive, and that's the part of divine feminine energy that a lot of you are lacking is being able to receive the same very things that you started to learn to apply to yourself. Now that you start to apply them, they will start to arise in your reality. Now the thing is that a lot of you are going to be triggered to run because now that you have found it within yourself, it's going to be hard to give up
Mm,
and trust the universe that this person is going to be able to provide without you having to ask for it.
that part.
Okay, clock it.
I think
But
that's
my
how you know, right, that that's your person, right? Because they're going to show up in the energy that like of what you want, you know what I mean, without you
they're
having to
gonna
ask.
show up when you need it, not when you want it.
Yes.
And that's the fucked up part because we're so used to, oh, I'm so used to just this person being there when I need it and when I want it, and that's not how it is. It needs to arise and be there when it's most needed.
And I think too, like being the divine, like circling back to what we were talking about earlier about like the Piscean energy and moving into the age of Aquarius, it's a shift, right, from patriarchal energy to matriarchal energy. So we're also seeing like we're seeing it shift on a macro level, but also on a micro level. And for the masculine, I feel like they're really being asked, right, to really connect into their feminine energy right now,
Yeah.
really being called to like pray and ask for the things that they want, being able to meditate and listen for the answers, or
Instead of having to go get it and let me get up and let me do, because they have to learn how to receive.
yes. And I think that that's what, why that patriarchal energy, right, was so like strong and why it was so hard for us and why we see like so many divine feminines with like gut health issues because our solar plexus, right, was blocked for so long and we've been like under suppressed energy. And so it's like this whole shift of our womb space, right? Of like recognizing, like, wow, this is actually a powerful portal. And I'm healing myself, like, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually by stepping into my power, by being open to receive. And I think that good girl, that good boy, it kind of always teaches us like that people pleasing to go outside. So like, oh, I love your shirt. It's like, oh, I got it at, thank you. I got it at Ross for 5. You know what I mean? And you saw that like that meme I was
Yeah.
sharing the other day. It's so hard for people to just say thank you or for people to just receive, you know, and it's
Because they
like,
don't
oh,
know how
let
to
me do
receive.
something for you because you just did something for me. Like, and so I think being open to just being receiving is so awkward for people
Yeah.
that stepping into and allowing yourself, telling yourself, right, that you are worthy and deserving of the things that are coming to you. Because again, it's your frequency that's calling them in, saying, like, hey, you're ready, you deserve this. So it's like be open to
Right.
receive it, don't push it away. You know what I mean? Thinking
Right.
like, you know, it's not, it's too good to be true, or you don't deserve it, or
Which is
whatever it
usually
is.
what people do.
Yep.
But I'm gonna go into advice because my phone's on 15%.
Yes.
And What I pulled is literally confirmation, embracing the shadow, which the shadow for the collective would be any aspect of yourself that you're not embracing, whether it be the feminine or the masculine. You need to embrace those aspects of yourself because that's what's going to bring in the things that you want and center you, because we have centering here, and then we have justice again because it's about the balance. So at the end of the day, the advice for divine feminine is going to be, look at good boy, good girl. It's the wild woman. The advice is going to be the wild woman for divine feminine. So I'm going to read this out of the book. Baby Yaga is the goddess of the wild woman, which is going to help you understand a little bit more of the reading. So, divine feminine. I walk in the forest and speak intimately with the animals. I dance barefoot in the rain without clothes. And I just heard spirit say, divine masculine, pay attention. And speak intimately with the animals. I dance barefoot in the rain without any clothes. I travel on pathways that I make myself and in ways that suit me. My instincts are alive and razor sharp. My intuition and sense of smell are very keen. I freely express my vitality, my sheer exuberant joyfulness to please myself. So it goes back to that energy where I was saying this is more about going back to, yes, the pleasure, but a lot of you are taking the pleasure out of things by bringing pleasure to other people instead of yourself because of your lack of relationship with yourself, right? So, into because it is natural, it is what needs to be. I am the wild, joyous life force. Come and meet me. So, the meaning of the card is that Baby Yaga flies into your life in her mortar to help you nurture wholeness by getting in touch with your wild woman. It is time to reconnect with the natural, the primal, and the instinctual. It is time to shake your hair, your body, and shake up your life. Have you? And then I just heard Spirit say, not for the world, but for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Not for the man, but for yourself. Not for that job, but for yourself. Not for your children, but for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Baby Yaga's house, her ways were fierce and wild, deep and penetrating, and could be interpreted as grinding away that which was extraneous or strenuous. Baby Yaga's house stood on chicken legs and danced about. Her time of death was autumn, for she was the life force present in the harvested grain. So, for a lot of you to understand, have you banished your wild woman to the dungeon? Right? Because thousands or hundreds of years ago, this is what men wanted you to do. Have you chained her, muzzled her, caged her, lest people find out you are not nice, neat, and clean? Free her. You need her. That wild woman is a part of your joy, part of your vitality, part of your creativity. Funny, because I just heard Spirit say this is the very nature that masculine has to put away, while the woman has to bring out.
I was seeing when you first started, especially every time you mentioned nature, I just keep seeing in my third eye, like little women, like little girls, all running through like a wild, like tall grass with wild flowers everywhere. And
Yeah.
it's like a mixture of like that laughter and that inner child, but also like that
From a safe place.
yes, but also like this like rage and this power of just knowing like how magical like you are on the inside, because I feel like when we're little, right, it's like we have that playful side, but we also have that imagination, and I think it's like that merging of like that dark feminine also with
So
that
I kind of
inner
feel like the
child.
reason why I also kind of feel like the reason why you're getting that image is also in synchronization to the fact that you were always told, well, you can't climb that tree, you can't do that, the boys are supposed to do that, you can't do this, you can't jump, you can't run, you can't be free.
Hmm. And I think a lot of the where we talked about the divine masculine, I think a lot of the divine feminines grew up like before their
Cage.
time. You know what I mean? They didn't really have childhoods. They were like the little adults of the house. And so
Yes.
I think we see that full circle kind of coming back of like, hey, I want to be in my inner child energy.
I want to be able to be messed up, dirty, not clean, primal in my natural state. Because that's what it says. Baby, it's also about she is you and you need every part of yourself in order to dance wholeness. Baby, Baba Yaga says it is the most important for you to learn to integrate your wild woman because it is your masculine self. Because an unintegrated wild woman creates self destructive behavior towards her divine feminine. So the wildness is there and needs to be expressed. It is your choice whether to express it creatively or destructively.
I love that. And it just like literally touched on almost everything that we spoke
Everything that we
about.
talked about.
So for the divine masculine, I pulled some soul truths. And the first card that flew out by itself was, am I apologizing for my truth? And it says, what part of you is apologizing for your truth and why? And it says, today, be proud of your truth. Catch yourself when you want to apologize or withhold parts of it. You never know whose life will change when you are brave enough to speak it. Be the lighthouse that shines on the courage that lives in all of us. This will give others permission to speak their own truth. There is a room for all of us. Today's mantra is courage is contagious.
Courage is contagious, and that just circles back to what we were talking about. You have to speak up about the things that you need, not the things that you
Yeah.
want or things that you think that you want. Because the things that you need are going to come with a cost, a sacrifice, or something that you have to become submissive to be able to receive it.
But it's going to bring you what you actually
What
want.
you
So it's
want.
worth it. You know what I mean?
Correct.
The next one is, what are the dominant emotions that run my life? And it says, how do you fill your day? Stress or joy? Trust or anger? Anxiety or peace? We only have today, right now, the journey. No goal, no destination will bring us the feeling we seek. But when we begin filling every day with which we value most, we will attract more of it. That is fulfillment. So lean into what you want to feel and adjust your life, your values, and your expectations to match your desires. What do you want to feel? Are you willing to let go of the belief that you have to achieve something to feel it?
Exactly our fucking point.
And then
I hope.
last one
Oh,
is,
there's
do I
another one.
Yep, last one. Do I surround myself with people who lift me up? And I think this is important for the masculine. So the people with whom we surround ourselves determine who we become. Does your tribe fill you up? Do they inspire you? Do they believe in you? Do they help you step into your greatest potential? Make a desire list of the type of people with whom you wish to surround yourself and clarify if there is anyone in your life who no longer serves you. Can you love them from a distance?
Yes, and I'll add on to that. And if none of those things apply, then you already know what you need to do. These are things and people that you have to cut the ties to, and these are the things that you won't sacrifice to be able to receive what it is that you want. Whether it's from that divine feminine, that career, that spiritual journey you want to step into, whatever it is because you're not sacrificing those people that will never support you or would never give you the uplifting that you need to be able to carry that vibration. You're attaching yourself to people that will only drain you from that vibration.
Or holding on to old emotions, right? That are like part of our energetic suitcase. So you're literally dragging all of that baggage around, and maybe you're bringing it into situations and relationships, and it's not even what is in the present circumstance, but it's your baggage, right, that you're bringing in. So it's really time to unpack those emotions and really start to work through them instead of dragging them around, because it's like making you heavy, right? And we need to like lighten the load.
It's kind of funny because I just heard Spirit say the reason why you're at the door is because we're telling you to unpack
Mm. It's
before you
like
walk through the
like
door.
you have said it, but I think it was another way of saying, right? It's like you can't be in the energy of your old self and expect like different results. So you really have to like release what no longer serves you and shed and unpack and walk away and make sacrifices for
It's
the things
kind of like
that
when you leave home, you leave this vulnerable version of yourself and put on this whole like shield and ego version of yourself for the masses and for the society. And then when you come home, You leave it outside of the door and you walk into your vulnerability. The same things you have to do with these connections and these relationships. You have to be able to leave your ego at the door. You have to be able to leave all of these costumes and shit that you put on. You have to be able to leave all of these things that are not allowing you to filter through the things that you actually want to experience, because you're telling yourself that because it doesn't look the same, it doesn't feel the same, it's not arriving the same, that it's not going to be what it is that you want.
Hmm.
But I hope that this reading served you in some way, shape, or form. Thank you so much, Soul Shifter, for allowing me to bring you in and tap into the energy with the
Yeah,
collective.
thank you
This
for
was very dope.
inviting me
What?
into your awesome community.
Okay. And I hope that the soul shifters over on that side enjoyed the reading and the transmission. We're going to do this again. This is not the first and last time. We're going to do it again. We're going to be a little bit more organized, a little bit more straight to the point. I do feel like whoa, because we're both Aquariuses and we can talk for hours. We've
Yeah.
done it before. So we're going to make it a little bit shorter next time, because I know your attention spans could be a little short. But I hope that I served you in some way, shape, or form. She is the soul shifter. I am the Hierophant Joey. Allow your celestial light to always shine, whether from darkness or light, is always, always beneficial as long as it is authentic. We love you and we'll see you next time.